In the suffocating stillness of night, a single bulb flickers, illuminating the dust motes that spin in the dense, frigid air. The warehouse, vast and abandoned, echoes with silence, save for the laboured breaths of a woman sprawled on the cold concrete floor. Her wrists, raw from coarse rope, are bound tight behind her, her ankles bruised beneath haphazard knots. Emma blinks against the sharp sting in her left eye, a swelling testament to the violence that brought her here. Her world contracts to the rough grit beneath her cheek, the weight of despair perched heavy on her chest. The remnants of her purse lie strewn nearby, credit cards scattered, phone smashed, identity ripped from her grasp as brutally as her freedom. The last memory before darkness, a hand gripping her hair, a voice snarling threats, the world dissolving into pain and the heavy thud of something hard against her skull. Now there is only the thrum of silence, her pulse hammering in her ears, and the voice, insidious, relentless, wrapping around her thoughts like the ropes around her body. Give up. No one knows you're here. No one will come. Rest, and it will all be over soon. The futility presses on her like a physical weight, heavy and cold. Life before appears in her memory. Her mother's hands, tending to scraped knees, old words whispered in the dark. It's not over, not unless you stop fighting. The faintest spark ignites beneath the dread, one small stubborn flame. She breathes in, ragged and shallow. But Emma steadies herself, turns her mind to the mundane. She catalogues. She's alive. She can move, though every joint protests. Her attackers, gone for now, had thrown her in here and left her for dead. Dead, but not yet. Not unless she lets them be right. Tentatively she tugs at her wrists. Rope bites into her skin, but she wrenches her hands, inch by inch trying to create slack. The knots are tight, but her fingers, numb as they are, have always been deft. Years spent braiding hair, untying shoelaces with teeth when pranks went awry, manipulating tiny wires as an engineer. These are not meaningless skills unless she lets the voice win. The pain floods her every time she tries, nerves screaming with each movement. She grinds her teeth, focuses not on the pain, but on the purpose. She imagines the faces of those who love her, her sister, her best friend, even her dog Lily with her wagging tail and soulful eyes. People who would be desperate for answers. She can't leave them wondering. Minutes bleed into hours. Her arms ache, but her mind sharpens. Each time the voice sneers, "You're wasting your strength," she counters out loud, "I'm still here." The words sound small in the cavernous space, but claiming them makes her resolve stronger. She inches her way to a metal beam, scraping her knees in the process. The knots dig into her flesh, but the beam's jagged edge becomes her salvation. Slowly, painstakingly, she rubs against it, ignoring the voice screaming that it hurts, that it's pointless, that even if she escapes this, they'll come back. Pain blooms, hot and immediate. She grits her teeth, using every ounce of determination to focus on the slow, deliberate sawing of rope against rusted metal. Her breaths grow short, but the rope, fraying under relentless pressure, gives the faintest twitch. Encouraged, Emma doubles down, rocking back and forth, the scraping sound deafening in the darkness. At last, with a final surge, the rope snaps apart, leaving her wrists free, bloodied but alive. She massages her wrists, feeling circulation return in painful pulses. Her ankles come next. She gropes for a shard from her shattered phone, clutching the jagged edge between trembling fingers. The work is slow, but hope is cumulative, building with each thread she teases out of the knot. One ankle, then the other, she is free. She massages her wrists, feeling circulation return in painful pulses. Her ankles come next. She gropes for a shard from her shattered phone, clutching the jagged edge between trembling fingers. The work is slow, but hope is cumulative, building with each thread she teases out of the knot. One ankle, then the other, she is free. Emma pushes herself upright, wavering. The room spinning, she fights down the tide of vertigo, steadying herself against the cold wall. The warehouse stretches before her, labyrinthine, filled with shadows and hazards. There is no clear path, and no certainty that her attackers won't return. You'll never find the exit. They may be waiting. If you make a noise, someone worse will hear you. Emma forces herself to take inventory. Her breath fogs in the air. It's cold, probably early morning now. The windows, high and grimy, let in weak light. Doors are few and distant, and she can't tell which might open to freedom. But movement is action, and action is resistance. She stumbles forward, skirting piles of rusted machinery and heaps of discarded materials. The scent of oil and rot fills the air. Every footstep feels like a declaration against the voice, against the people who left her to die. Faint noises keep her heartbeat pounding, the creak of metal, the rustle of wind outside. Paranoia presses in, but she refuses to freeze. A glint catches her eye, a battered metal pipe. She seizes it, weight comforting in her grip. It's not much, but it gives her a sense of security, a weapon and a crutch all at once. The voice is quieter now, edged with an uneasy respect. She moves, senses sharp, listening for the sound of engines or footsteps. Her mind, once heavy with helplessness, grows tactical. She mentally maps the warehouse, piecing together her fragmented knowledge of its layout from glimpses in the dim hours since her abduction. She searches for signs of life, drafts near a wall, a glimmer of daylight beneath a door, any indication of an exit. Her progress is slow, but she persists, relying on a combination of instinct and careful planning. Each step is a choice against surrender, an affirmation that life, no matter how brutal, is worth fighting for. At last, she finds a rusted service door hanging slightly ajar. She listens, nothing but wind humming through the cracks. With a calculated breath, she slips through, heart hammering in her chest. Outside, pale dawn breaks, touching the industrial wasteland with reluctant light. Relief floods her, but there is no time for collapse. She's in unfamiliar territory. The world is still dangerous. She ducks behind debris, edging along a chain-link fence, scanning for signs of pursuit. Her mind races through options. Find a road flag, a passing vehicle, seek shelter. But trust comes hard now. Every shadow could mask an enemy. What if you walk straight into the arms of your captors? What if no one stops to help? What if you never make it home? But Emma draws on her determination, her wit. She recalls survival lessons, movies, anything useful. She rips a strip from her shirt to wrap her bleeding wrists. She keeps the pipe at the ready, eyes keen and alert. She moves briskly towards distant sounds, traffic maybe, or the thrum of waking city life. Time warps. Every minute feels endless. Eventually she spots a road, cars speeding past in flashes of colour and promise. She waits for a gap, then darts out, flagging a heavy-set man in a battered pickup. He slams the brakes, startled, but her desperation is unmistakable. The man asks, "What happened to you?" Emma, trembling, replies, "Please, I need help. I was attacked. I need the police." The man hesitates, weighing trust, then unlocks the door. Emma climbs in, trembling. The voice is silent now, cowed by her resolve, her insistence on survival. The ride to safety is a blur of streetlights and distant sirens, of answering questions and assurance that help is coming. But Emma stays alert, refusing to slip into relief until uniformed officers greet her, offering blankets and gentle words. She tells her story, succinct, clear, refusing to be cowed by the memory of terror. Hospital lights are harsh, but they promise hope. As doctors tend to her wounds, Emma's eyes flicker with a new determination. "You'll never be the same." Emma, "No, I won't. I'll be better. No, I won't. I'll be better." Once felt like victimhood becomes victory. She speaks at shelters, counselling others who tremble on the edge of giving up. She teaches self-defence classes, her hands nimble and sure as she demonstrates locks and strikes, her voice unwavering. She rebuilds her life brick by brick, choosing love over fear, hope over silence. The man who picked her up that day, the kindness of strangers, even the jagged edge of rusted iron, she remembers them all, proof that in darkness there are resources and allies, that even in despair one can find meaning. Every journey begins with a single choice, not to surrender. Each moment of resistance, every calculated action, is a victory against the voice. Emma lives with scars, but not as reminders of defeat. They are testaments to her fight, to survival, to a spirit that refused to be broken. She stands by a window one evening, watching rain trace patterns down the glass. The voice at last is only a faint murmur, easily drowned out by the laughter of friends, the warmth of family, the beat of her own resilient heart. She is not simply a survivor. She is a warrior, a testament to relentless hope. She knows that fear may never fully disappear, that bad things happen to good people, that darkness can be unlikely and sudden. But as long as there is even the faintest light, a person can walk towards it, defy the shadows, outwit the doubts that say it's easier to lay down and give up. Because survival is not only about escape, it's about refusing to let the worst thing that happened to you become the definition of your life. It's about taking the fragments left behind and forging them into something new, something stronger, something unbreakable. And so, every day Emma wakes, sometimes with fear, but always with fire. She tells others, When everything inside you screams to give up, take just one more step. Find the smallest resource, a jagged edge, the memory of someone who loves you, your own stubborn breath. Use it, and then take another step, and then another. She faces the world, not with the absence of fear, but with a steady, unyielding courage. And as she walks into each new day, Emma carries with her not the darkness of the warehouse, but the indomitable will that carried her out of it. If ever the voice returns, she will answer as she did before, not with resignation, but with action, a plan, a movement, a word spoken aloud. It is not the silence or the shadow that defines her, but the battle waged in secret, the war won by willpower alone. In the quiet after the storm, Emma's life moves forward. She seeks justice, and though the law is slow, she persists, tireless in her pursuit. She is both frailty and force, battered but not bowed. She advocates for others who have been silenced, teaching that survival is possible, that fear can be a crucible, not a cage. Her laughter, once tentative, now rings bright and clear. She knows with certainty the moment she chose not to give up, to fight the voice, was the moment everything changed. From that moment, her story was no longer one of victimhood, but of victory, of the tenacity that lies within the heart of every person on the edge of despair. In the end, the voice that urged her to surrender becomes a distant whisper, drowned out by the anthem of survival she writes anew every day. Emma's journey is not easy. There are setbacks, flashbacks, tears, but there is also healing, hope, and an unshakable belief in the possibility of light on the other side of darkness. And perhaps most importantly, she knows that no one is ever truly alone. There is always a way. Even in the bleakest night, the smallest spark can become a beacon. This is the lesson Emma offers to the world, not as a legend or myth, but as a living, breathing truth. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the resolve to move forward, one impossible step at a time. No matter how dire the circumstance, no matter how convincing the voice, a person can choose hope. And with wit, determination, and unyielding will to survive, even the thickest darkness can be conquered, one hard-won step after another. It is not the silence or the shadow that defines her, but the battle waged in secret, the war won by willpower alone. In the quiet after the storm, Emma's life moves forward. She seeks justice, and though the law is slow, she persists, tireless in her pursuit. She is both frailty and force, battered but not bowed. In the end, the voice that urged her to surrender becomes a distant whisper, drowned out by the anthem of survival she writes anew every day. Emma's journey is not easy. There are setbacks, flashbacks, tears, but there is also healing, hope, and an unshakable belief in the possibility of light on the other side of darkness. And perhaps most importantly, she knows that no one is ever truly alone. There is always a way. Even in the bleakest night, the smallest spark can become a beacon. This is the lesson Emma offers to the world, not as a legend or myth, but as a living, breathing truth. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the resolve to move forward, one impossible step at a time. No matter how dire the circumstance, no matter how convincing the voice, a person can choose hope. And with wit, determination and unyielding will to survive, even the thickest darkness can be conquered one hard-won step after another.